Got it? Oh, I got to do it with a thing. It's not a touch screen like mine. Ah. Mouse?
It's good. We're at the same thing, but it's on.
Okay. Yay. Technology. Where would we be without it? And then sometimes we're going, and where are we now? So the theme for this month is reaching higher, and the talk title for today is And Still I Rise. The contributor for the talk outline was Cheryl McCreary, and I'm going to use a piece of it, and I'm not going to use the rest of it. And that seems about the normal thing to do. The context for today's topic is, in spite of discomfort and obstacles, we persevere and rise. And perhaps that's what the penguins were doing. The little penguin had to do to get his mother out of the ditch.
A really big sinkhole.
Okay. All right. Perhaps what is in the way is the way. And that we rise not in spite of our challenges and our discomforts, but because of them. And there is that within us that continues to call us forward and upward on our journey of awakening, that calls us to a greater understanding of ourselves, our relationship with the self, our relationship with God, our role and our purpose in society. So that's the reason for the talk. So I thought, well, okay, fine. And Still I Rise comes out of a poem by Maya Angelou. So I thought, well, all right, let me go see what that poem is. It's a very somewhat depressing poem, in my opinion, but the Still I Rise part of it is, it's like, yes, motivation. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod on me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I will rise. Does my sassiness upset you? I can think of several people that are sassy. Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you like it awful hard? Because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I danced like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the hurt of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Interesting poem. One of the quotes for today, I know there's a power for good. You've heard this before, which is responding to me and bringing into my experience everything that is necessary to my unfoldment. Interesting that everything that I need for my unfoldment is being brought into, pulled into my experience, and still I rise. Ernest Holmes wrote, there is an inner urge in our own minds to grow, to expand, to break down the barriers of previous limitations and to ever widen our experience. This persistent urge is a divine influence, an irresistible force, and it constitutes the great impulse of the human experience. Maya Angelou's classic poem, Still I Rise, is the namesake of this week's theme. Though it was written in response to a specific cultural experience, African American, like all great poetry, it articulates universal truth. The refrain of Still I Rise is the heartbeat of truth, proclaiming that there is within each of us that which is unstoppable, inexhaustible, inextinguishable, and unchangeable. That's a lot of bulls, isn't it? That which we call God, spirit, divine intelligence, that in which we live and move and have our being, that which rises in us as us, can never be oppressed. Like a tender sprig of green pushing up through the concrete sidewalk, life rises as us always. Now, I said it can never be oppressed, but we can oppress it. We have that ability and we do it oh so well. So I can speak, I know I can. On Memorial Day, Mike said to me, our relationship needs to change. This isn't working for me. I'm going to be gone. And he was. He would show up and get the mail. And occasionally we would have a conversation. But if we sat down to have any kind of a discussion at all, he would get really emotional and be, this isn't working for me. I can't do this anymore. Okay. But you can't talk about it either. It's like, all right. I felt like I was in this limbo place of, I don't know how to make this better because this isn't working. And I know that he was upset when his stepdaughter passed away in January or February, whenever it was that she died. And I realized that he probably realized that life is short. We don't know how long we have. And what we were doing as a couple didn't work for him anymore. And we'd grown to do different things. I had no interest in going to watch people fight. Just not, I'm not there. I had no interest in karaoke. I like music, but I'm not interested in going to do karaoke. I'm not interested in going to play pool at the bar either. And I think he was pretty well done with church. So I do a lot of church things. So sometimes, and I've said this all along, when people grow, they outgrow. So I sat down and I thought about it a while and I'm going, okay, I feel upset and angst in my world because there's not anything that I can do here. I feel like I'm waiting for him to make a decision, but every time we come together, it's like, nope, I can't. I don't know what I want, but I don't want to live with you. Okay. After about 3 weeks of swimming in that unknown pool, I chose to take back my power. After confirming one more time that we were not going to be able to live together, I went looking for a house. And I found one. I made an offer on the house and then went looking for a loan because while we have 5 houses that are on the market, if they don't sell, I'm going to need a loan to be able to finance to pay for this house. And I figured the payments were right and what I could do. I'm not going to be able to live high on the hog necessarily, but yeah, I can survive it. So I found a lender and he was moderately helpful. And in the back of my mind was this thought that, oh my gosh, when we bought the first house that we bought together, we got down to a week before the house closed. And on Friday afternoon, about 3 o'clock, I got a message or a phone call that I did not pick up on. The person left a message that said, call me, but I didn't get it until after 5 o'clock. And the loan company that had financed that house had gone out of business. So I'm, a week before we're supposed to close, we're scrambling to find another lender. Well, I found one and that worked, and I was able to get the house, which we still own. It's one of the ones that's for sale. But that's in the back of my mind. Then in a year and a half ago, when Mike decided that he was going to buy a house for his stepdaughter that was so sick, we got up to about 2 weeks before the closing, and then it didn't go through on his credit. But it did go through with the same lender that had lent the first time, which is the credit union that I belong to, in my name. So now I have 2 houses in my name. So, but in the back of my mind is this, what if the loan doesn't go through? Because that's the experience that I've been dealing with. And my brain would go, that's not the truth. The principle is not based on precedent. It doesn't have to be the truth, and so on and so forth. And 10 days before the closing, the guy said, oh yeah, we'll close if you have the other houses sold. Oh, I haven't even had an offer on the other houses, so I don't think they're going to be cash in hand ready to go by this closing date. So I'm scrambling to find another lender, knowing that if this is supposed to be my house, it will fall into place. Everything will fall into place. The realtor recommended a lender, and he just jumped right on it. Got all kinds of stuff going on. There was a point where we thought Mike was going to have to be on the loan in order to close it, but he ended up only having to be there to say he knew that I was doing this. And we have weird laws in Oklahoma. So I did close on the house. Now we had to postpone the first closing, but that was okay. It was postponed because of the lender falling through, but the seller fell and broke her hip and had to have surgery too. So, I mean, it was like a day apart. So she's had surgery and recovery and all that while I'm scrambling to get this other thing. And there's just steps, just hoops. I need this, and I need this, and I need this, and I need this. Give me a copy of your paycheck stub, and on and on and on. All of that paperwork. So I closed the house. On the house, I actually have the mortgage on the 2nd of September, which was a Thursday. At 6:30 on Friday morning, I left to go to Big Sky, Montana for a retreat and have an absolutely wonderful time. But it was a great drive. I went with a friend, and we saw animals and countryside and stuff that I had not seen before. I've never been to Montana before, and I got to go through Wyoming. I've never been to Wyoming before, so I crossed 2 more states off of my bucket list. I don't have very many left. I think there's 4. So we did that. Took the day and went down to Yellowstone. So that was a fun thing we did while we were there. And one of the retreat sessions was about, what do you fear most? What do you fear most? Well, to me, the piece about being afraid of, most of us are afraid of things we don't know. We're afraid of the unknown. And it's hard to be in that place of not knowing. It was like 3 weeks and I was done with being and not knowing what was going to go on with my life. I needed to get control of it. That fear part is very interesting, and what's in all of our lives all of the time, and sometimes more than others. So let's see, Big Sky started on Saturday evening and went all day Sunday, all day Monday. Tuesday was a day off, all day Wednesday, and Thursday morning breakfast. Wednesday morning, I get a text message from Mike saying, call me. He never sends text messages while I'm doing something. Something really bad must have happened for him to say that, just to send a message. So the session was nearly over. So I walked out and said, what's up? He said, well, I just thought you should know I have COVID. I'm going, okay, thank you. I need to know that. I appreciate that. So it was a matter of, he apparently came down with it on Wednesday and went to the doctor, felt bad on Tuesday, went to the doctor Wednesday morning, confirmed that he had COVID, got antibody treatment in the afternoon. He said he was so miserable on Wednesday. It was really, really bad. But Thursday he was better, and Friday he was better. And I got home Friday evening. So what I did when I got home was empty my suitcase into 2 piles, the light and the dark, washed them, folded them back up and put them back in the suitcase. On Saturday morning, the friend that I had driven with brought his pickup over and moved 2 mattresses, the sheets. No, I didn't have sheets. I had a blanket, a card table, and 2 chairs, and my clean clothes to the new house. So I spent one night under the house with Mike with COVID, and then I'm camping out in my new house. It was an interesting time, that piece as well. On Wednesday, they moved the furniture. Now, while I was gone, I had a friend who does tile take up the carpet in one of the bedrooms and put tile down so I could have a place where I could do my office and roll around not on the tile. I mean, not on the carpet. And Mike's friends had moved all the boxes that I had packed, and I had very carefully labeled them all with what was in them or what room they came out of. So it says books O, which is office, books L, which is library, books LR, which is living room, books paper rack. So books bedroom, but you get the idea. Books closet. I do 65 boxes of books.
Oh my God, a library.
Yes, a library, yes. So all of the boxes that had book on them are on one side of the garage, and all of the boxes that say kitchen or anything else are on the other side of the garage. They moved them all in, and when I got there, all those boxes were sitting there waiting. So I gradually began to pull the kitchen ones out and put them away. Now, they did not sort them, they just dumped them, etc. But all the kitchen ones are now put away and everything's fine, except I have lost a box somewhere. And it's the box that has the spices and the small pots and pans in it. I don't know where. I don't have any place else to look because all of those are put away, and every box that says books has books in it. So I sorted all the boxes because I wanted one particular box of books. I found it. It was the last the last one, the bottom of the stack, the last stack I looked at had that box in it. So I had to move all the others to get to it, but it was, because it was well labeled, I could find it and it was easy to do if you don't mind moving big boxes of little boxes of books. So this week, I went to the minister's convo virtually, which is really cool because I could do it from home, or better, I could do it from work. So they had a session in the morning and then a session in the afternoon, and I just dialed in and zoomed in and was right there with them and going on. And what they asked for was, what were we afraid of? And most of us said what we don't know. When we don't know what's going on. Or we're afraid to try something because we don't know how it'll turn out. Is that not us? Some of us, yeah. And still, we rise. because there is something that is in each and every one of us that will make us do something, will make us try something. There's that urge that's there. Have you ever had that urge to do something, to try something, to do different? I know, even if it's just what you eat. Have you ever seen a restaurant you've never been in before and there's that urge to go and see whether or not they have good food? But still, even though it's an unknown thing, we have this urge and sometimes we follow and sometimes we don't. And sometimes we listen to the urge and do what it says or what it doesn't. And when we have an urge to go try something to eat, and there's another urge that says, no, you shouldn't, which one do we listen to? Our gut, our heart, our mind, our brain. It's all about love. It's all about love. In New Thought, sometimes we try to avoid pain and suffering. But I think it's kind of like this whole loan process, in that, yeah, it was painful and it was a step-by-step process, but if we just think about it as the steps and steps and the steps and the steps and do it anyway, then we get where we're going. This whole process of separating the stuff from Mike, the parts here, we've had some really good conversations recently. Everything's fine. Oh, I didn't tell you he got cleared, so he's good to go back to work and has been working for a week now, so that's good. Yes, back to his normal self. And I think there's a piece of the reason he got COVID because he was so afraid he was going to get it. I don't know that, but it came up in conversations half a dozen times before. It's like, okay. So my sister's husband had COVID as well, and she didn't catch it. And I don't have it, haven't had it. I'm just gonna make sure that that's I don't do strep. I'm not gonna do COVID either. There you go. But I think that there is that within us which knows, which doesn't waste any opportunity. So when we are confronted with something that looks hard or that looks difficult or that isn't in alignment with what we want, if we keep our mind on the end, on the goal, on the part that we want to be, then allow this stuff that's in the way to just be what it is. And that may mean that it's an obstacle that we have to step over, or it may be something that we have to move around, or it may be a pain that we have to go through. Why is it happening? We look at it, we see if there's something there we need to do, and if not, we just accept it and go on. Ram Dass and Mirabai Bush said this in Walking Each Other Home: live in the moment. Know that moments are not in time. Moments are not in the world of clock or of changing seasons or the process of going old. Moments are soul time. So live in the soul. Where are you right now? What are you doing right now? Good, bad, indifferent. Live in that space. Acknowledge what it is. And still, as you move through it, you'll rise. As we move through it, we rise. Comments, thoughts, or questions?
Well, if you insist. Stop the pressure. You know,